Boxing King Media in association with SaveMoreMoney.com and Riyadh Season. With me, Andy Clarke. Andy, we've been crying for this undisputed fight. We are a step closer. A press conference has taken place today. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Just your reaction to the press conference and the announcement first.
Well, it's great to get the announcement. We were all a bit nervous, I think, after October the 28th as to whether we would see this, because it seemed unlikely that the 23rd of December was that feasible, to be honest, when you looked at Fury at the end of the fight. But if there's a will, then there's a way, and particularly with the finances that Saudi Arabia are able to put up, because these fights, they take an enormous amount of investment, but the will is there from both of the fighters, and that's the key thing, really, and it's been done, and I'm confident, it will happen. Alex Krassyuk, I think, is a little bit nervous maybe still, that, as he said, until he hears that first bell, he's not entirely sure that we'll get to see it, but I think he's playing a few little games there, basically, and it's what we need, because we've had some really, really good fights this year. It's really easy in boxing to be a bit glass half empty sometimes, but we have had some really good fights, but the one that we haven't had is the one that everybody wants the most, which is this one. So it's good for the sport, it's good for the sport that this has gotten across the line. There's a while to go yet before we actually see it, but I have no reason to believe that we won't get it on February the 17th.
They said Derek Chisora was too big. They said Anthony Joshua was too big. They said Daniel Dubois was too big and too young. He proved us wrong time and time and time again. Tyson Fury is completely different. He's taller than everybody else. He's heavier than the three that I mentioned. How much of a tough challenge is this for Usyk, and what does he have to do to beat Tyson Fury?
It's the toughest challenge that Usyk has had. People talk a lot about his size, but he'll be about 220 on the night. That's where he settled out as a heavyweight, and it's not, that's not tiny. It's not that small. It's just that Fury will come in the 270s probably, so be about 4 stone heavier. But it's whether he can use it or not. He's going to have to make sure he turns up on the night in absolutely terrific condition, because if he doesn't, then it's going to be a struggle for him. Usyk just needs to trust his boxing instincts and his boxing ability. When you've got two fighters with this level of IQ, they will have a plan. They will look at things that they'll try and exploit, but ultimately, they'll trust their ability to adapt, and whatever their opponent does, find a way to win. So I think it could be quite cagey early on. I think that could well happen, but these kinds of fights can be really, really absorbing. And when you've got two real high-level fighters, as I say, they will have an idea or some ideas of things they might be able to set up and traps they might be able to set, but ultimately, that boxing brain has got to compute at an absolutely alarming rate. And we've got two people who can do it.
We saw Tyson Fury being Tyson Fury on the top table. Alexander Usyk didn't have a lot to say, but that head-to-head was quite interesting. Heads very, very well, practically touching each other. Looks like they were trying to feel each other off a little bit. Tyson Fury is used to this. This is Tyson Fury, but Alexander isn't used to this. People being in his face so close up. Is that just Tyson Fury trying to intimidate Alexander Usyk?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's just trying to make the point, look, I'm the bigger guy here. He didn't really put any hands on him or anything like that. I never felt like that was going to get out of control, but he is taller, so he was literally trying to bear down on him and just kind of make him feel that extra height and weight, just a taste of what he can expect in the ring. But Usyk's never going to take a backward step, and I don't think that would remotely bother him. Every time he's had a fight at heavyweight, he's known that the person coming out of the opposite corner is going to be bigger than him, but it just hasn't really made any difference.
And just going back the last 24 hours, I know we all wanted to see Joshua Wilder or Wilder Joshua, however you want to name it, but we're getting different fights. We're getting Parker, Wilder, we're getting Joshua, Wallin. I know there is some criticism towards the fighters for not making the fight that the fans want, but do we still have to give some respect and gratitude towards Joshua and Wilder, because they're not going into fights where they're clearly the front runners to win? Some people are picking Wallin to beat Joshua, some people are picking Parker to beat Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, those are proper fights they're in. There's no question about that. Wallin is a good fighter. He's technically sound. I remember first seeing him probably about 2015, 2016, when he was early in his career boxing in Sweden or Denmark on a Sauerland show. And I sat down in the afternoon and had a long conversation with Joey Gamache. We were both just killing some time, and he was telling me all about him. And you look at what he did against Fury. You know, on another night, he could have won that fight. And since then, he's been biding his time. He had a good win against Dominic Brazil. He's a proper fighter. He's a good fighter. They've sparred. They boxed as amateurs a couple of times. So Joshua knows what he's getting himself into. And if he's not on his game, he could lose. The same goes for Wilder, because Parker knows what he's up against. They know that they've got to be switched on for the entire fight, but they know that he could be outboxed because it's happened. Generally, he finds the answer to turn things around. But he's had one round in a couple of years. And the last time he was in a real fight, if you like, no disrespect to Helenius, but it was over so quick, it almost doesn't count, was against Fury. And that was, I mean, to describe it as torrid would be an understatement. And we don't really know what that might have taken away from him, because it will have taken something. And he's 38, and I think Parker will feel like this is a brilliant chance for him.
Andy, appreciate your time. It has been a long 2 days, I must say, with two huge announcements. Roll on, Riyadh, December 23rd, and I'm sure we'll see you there.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Yeah, I'm keen to be there.
Andy Clarke, thank you for speaking to Boxing King Media.
Have you ever been stranded on the side of a motorway with a broken down car? Like me, is that something that worries you? That's where motor breakdown insurance comes in. If your vehicle breaks down, a trained professional will be sent out to get you back on the road. Or if this is not possible within the specified time frame, to transport you to your home or to the nearest garage.